Today's podcast topic would be, are climate change effective? Let us talk about that. So, let us look back in the first day when United Nations first started. So back then, when they first started, UNEP wasn't taken into consideration yet, but rather they set up, the main focus of why they set up United Nations is to actually foster peace around the world and also to prevent another global scale of world war. United Nations role is to become a moderator and to become a middle person where countries can come together to actually discuss about global topics, or if there's a misunderstanding, they can come over and talk together instead of choosing war as an option. That was why United Nations was set up back there. The main objective only was to prevent another global scale of world war, like what has happened in the past, World War I and World War II, and we do not want to see World War III again, because if World War III were to happen right now in today's era, it's going to be a global disaster, especially radioactive everywhere. So yeah, okay, so moving on next. So UNEP only came in later. Why? The reason why UNEP came in later was because there were scientific journals that has been published, that has been written out to actually raise awareness about what industrialization has caused many of us to actually suffer the effects of global warming and climate change. And back then also, people will actually die of inhalation because of smoke pollution. That is because there was so much this smoke, right, that actually people inhale in third world countries, that caused them to suffocate, that caused them to have long-term killer effects that is with them. So, and also besides that as well, there were also scientific journals that was published in the past as well that talks about the depleting of ozone layer and also the holes on our ozone layer because of this chemical that can be found in the productions of our fridge, aircon. They call it the chlorofluorocarbon, CFCH if not mistaken. So this is what and so from there, there were people protesting out there, emphasizing this message to tell global leaders to take measurements, because if they don't, our planet will be dying. So back then, you can see during the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of protests. And then also in 2009, 2010, there was also another street protest, especially in the UK, where they asked their prime ministers to actually cut down on carbon emission, to cut down their reliance on petroleums, on oil. And you can see a lot of protests are being done crazily by an organization called Greenpeace. They have been doing this year by year, and all their stunts are very crazy just to get the attentions of the CEO. And then 3 to 4 years ago, before the pandemic, we have this girl named Greta. She was holding a sign outside her house, who happens to wants to raise awareness to tell people that, hey, you should do something to stop climate change. So that was her message back then when she was a kid, and today she's a teen. And also because of her, right, many people came and stood out to do what they call it, the climate school protests. So a lot of students around the world during that time, it was on a Friday, where you can see schools around the world, they came out to protest. Children came out on the street to protest, and also teenagers and young adults came out to protest to actually get the government to do something and address the climate issue. And that is why during the Paris Agreement, the Paris Agreement, where every country has to come together to sign a declaration where they will do their best to actually lower down carbon emission by 2050, and also help to slow down the global temperature by the end of this century by 2 degrees Celsius. Because it has been projected that by the end of this century, the global temperature will rise up above 2 degrees Celsius, another 2 degrees Celsius. So that's why they have the Paris Agreement to sign the declaration, letting people know that they will be dedicating themselves to actually reduce the global temperature by 2 degrees. Okay, they don't want it to happen. So because if we know that if the global temperature were to happen from time to time, mass extinction will happen. Like we have already seen right now, a lot of species are being extinct because of human activities, and some of it is because of the loss of habitat and rising of global temperature. So yeah, so to answer that, is climate change effective? It has been effective. Why do I say that? That is because you can see Greenpeace movement as one of an example. and the United Nations adopting the UNEP. Okay, they create a subsidiary to address all environmental related problems, and they also came up with the SDG goals, the 17 SDG goals, to make sure that the countries can become more sustainable by 2030. We also have Greta, that the lady, okay, who was back then just holding a cardboard telling people that you should stop climate change, and later on she and a group of people in her hometown created a movement where it's called the Climate School Friday, where students come out to protest and also to address climate change so that the leaders can actually take action. So these are a few examples. So climate change is definitely effective. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's topic. And if you have any other topics that you want us to speak in the future, feel free to leave a comment, and we will do our best to educate and empower you on that topic so that you can share this knowledge with other people out there. So that's all for today's podcast topic. Thank you, and I'll see you in our next episode.